Terror touched me at last when I fought shoulder to shoulder with humanity. Before that day, I thought I understood fear. I had seen stars die, worlds burn, and armies fall like dust in a silent wind. I believed fear was something small, something that lived only in weak hearts. I was wrong. True terror came to me not when I faced monsters, but when I stood beside humans and realized what they were willing to do, what they were able to do, and what they would never stop doing once they decided to protect something they loved. I am not human. My kind does not shake easily. We are tall, pale, and long-lived. We calculate before we act. We retreat when survival demands it. Our wars are careful, planned, and cold. For centuries, this kept us alive. For centuries, this made us believe we were wise. Then we met humanity. At first, humans seemed fragile. Their bodies were small and soft. Their lives were short. They needed air of a certain mix, water of a narrow purity, and warmth in a limited range. They broke easily. They died easily. When we first observed them, we thought they would not last long in a hostile universe. We thought they were interesting, nothing more. But humans had one strange quality. They adapted faster than any species we had ever seen. They learned not only with their minds, but with their pain. Every loss became a lesson. Every defeat became fuel. Where others accepted limits, humans questioned them. Where others surrendered, humans tried again, often harder than before. Still, none of this scared me. Admiration, yes. Concern, maybe. Fear, no. Fear came later. The war did not begin with humanity attacking us. It began when something older and darker than both our species arrived. We called them the Devourers. They were not evil in the way humans use the word. They were simply hunger given form. They stripped planets of life, turned stars into cold graves, and moved on. Fighting them was like fighting a storm with blades. My people had faced the Devourers before. We survived by running. We evacuated worlds, burned data, erased traces, and hid among the stars. It was not brave, but it was effective. When the Devourers came again, our leaders chose the same path. Humanity refused. When the warning reached Earth, humans did not scatter. They argued, yes, they always argue, but in the end, they chose to stand, not because they thought they could win easily, but because they believed that if they ran, the Devourers would only follow them to the next world. Humans had nowhere else to go. Earth was their cradle, their history, their grave if needed. My people debated whether to help. Many said no. Helping humans would only draw attention to us. Helping humans would cost ships, lives, and time. Helping humans was irrational. I was assigned as a liaison, a simple observer. I was not meant to fight. I was meant to watch humanity fail and record how long it took. The first thing that surprised me was how calm humans could be before battle. Not all of them, of course. Some cried, some prayed, some laughed too loudly. But many simply worked. They checked weapons, repaired armor, and shared food. They told stories about home, about children, about dreams they might never reach. They spoke of death as if it were a known companion, not a distant fear. I remember standing in a human military hangar, watching a mechanic paint a symbol on the side of a fighter. I asked him why he wasted time on decoration when survival odds were low. He looked at me and smiled. "If I'm going to die," he said, "I want them to know who did it." I did not understand that answer then. I do now. When the Devourers arrived, space itself seemed to darken. Their ships were vast, organic, and wrong. Sensors screamed. Communication faltered. Many of my people would have fled at that sight alone. Humans advanced. The first battle was chaos. Human ships were destroyed in huge numbers. Their weapons barely scratched the enemy. I watched captains give orders that I knew would lead to death, yet the ships moved forward anyway. Not one hesitated, not one turned away. That should have been my first moment of terror, but it wasn't. It came later. When the humans adapted, they changed tactics. Within days, they redesigned weapons. Within weeks, they learned how to hurt the devourers. Every human loss fed the next human victory. Wreckage became data. Failure became instruction. My role changed too. I was no longer just an observer. Human commanders began asking my advice, then ignoring it when it conflicted with their instincts. I told them to retreat when odds were poor. They asked me instead how long they needed to hold. One human officer said something I will never forget. "We don't need to win today," she said. "We just need to make sure they bleed." The idea of making an enemy bleed, not to kill them immediately, but to teach them pain, was deeply unsettling to me. As the war spread to planets, I saw humanity at ground level. Cities turned into fortresses, civilians became support networks, farmers learned logistics, teachers learned strategy, children were sent away, and parents stayed behind. I fought beside humans for the first time on a burning plain under a red sky. The devourers had landed ground forms, massive and armored. Our combined force was outmatched. Retreat was the logical choice. Humans did not retreat. They dug in. They used the terrain with terrifying creativity. They collapsed mountains, flooded valleys, and turned their own cities into traps. When ammunition lay low, they fought with tools. When tools broke, they fought with hands. I saw a wounded human drag himself forward to detonate explosives beneath a devourer walker. I asked later why he did not retreat to medical aid. Another human answered for him. He already knew he wouldn't make it, so he decided to matter. That sentence chilled me more than any weapon. As days turned to weeks, I began to feel something unfamiliar. It was not fear of death. I had accepted that long ago. It was fear of what humanity would become if pushed far enough. Humans did not fight with hatred alone. They fought with love. Love for their families, love for their world, love for each other, and that made them relentless. Hatred can burn out. Love does not. The devourers began to change tactics too. They targeted civilian centers, hoping to break morale. They failed. Each massacre hardened human resolve. Each destroyed city became a symbol. Names of fallen places were painted on armor, carved into weapons, whispered before battle. I heard humans say never again over and over, not as a hope, but as a promise. The moment terror truly touched me was during a counterattack deep inside devourer-controlled territory. The plan was insane. We would jump into an unstable region of space, sacrifice half the fleet as a distraction, and strike at a central hive structure. My people advised against it. The odds were unacceptable. Humanity accepted the plan without hesitation. As we prepared, I asked a human general why they were willing to lose so much. She looked at me, tired eyes steady. Because if we don't stop them here, they will never stop, and neither will we. I realized then that humanity did not measure cost the same way we did. They did not count lives as numbers. They counted futures. They were willing to burn their present to protect what came next. The battle was worse than expected. The devourers anticipated us. Ships exploded. Screams filled the channels. At one point, our position was overrun. I prepared to die. Then humans charged. Not carefully, not efficiently. They charged with a raw force that ignored fear. They shouted names, they sang songs, they screamed defiance into the void. Their presence was overwhelming, not because of strength alone, but because of certainty. They believed they could not fail, because failure was not an option they accepted. Fighting beside them, I felt terror like never before, not because we were losing, but because we were winning. I saw humans do things that broke every rule of war my people knew. They used themselves as bait. They turned their own bodies into weapons. They refused to stop advancing even when logic screamed to halt. I understood then that if humanity ever decided that my people were the enemy, we would not survive. Not because humans were stronger, but because they would not stop. They would chase us across stars, across centuries, until either they were gone or we were. That knowledge shook me to my core.